How imminent do you think an attack on Israel is from Iran, Mr. President?
I want to get a secure information, but my expectation sooner than later.
Mr. President, what's your message to Iran in this moment?
Don't.
Are American personnel and assets at risk, Mr. President? Mr. President, are American troops at risk as well?
We are devoted to the defense of Israel. We will support Israel. We will help defend Israel, and Iran will not succeed. Thank you very much.
What would trigger a direct U.S. response, sir?
This is my video update on this Saturday afternoon, April the 13th. Let's talk about some news. And the world waits to see if Iran will retaliate against Israel after Israel's attack on Iran's embassy in Syria. Biden yesterday in a press conference said that an attack is coming. Sooner or later, an attack is coming by Iran against Israel. It could happen within the hour, within the day. Biden White House is very confident that Iran is preparing a big attack against Israel, and the U.S. has threatened Iran that if they attack Israel, well, then the U.S. will attack Iran. Yesterday, we had a missile barrage into Israel, most likely by Hezbollah, but the missile barrage was met by the Iron Dome. And from what I understand, this has nothing to do with the imminent expected retaliation by Iran. From Iran's side of things, they have been fairly quiet, to be quite honest. They haven't really said much about a retaliation. In the UN, they did say that if the UN Security Council condemns Israel's attack on their embassy in Syria, then Iran will feel like it doesn't need to retaliate. An interesting statement from Iran: diplomacy instead of military retaliation. Iran has to retaliate. There's no doubt about that. Any country whose embassy would have been deliberately attacked by another country, would have to retaliate. That goes without question, whether it's Iran or the United States, or Greece, or Poland, or any country whose embassy was deliberately attacked by another country, absolutely would have to retaliate. But Iran has been very, very quiet about a retaliation. They've released a video teaser, a video trailer with a missile in a bunker, but that's pretty much it. The statement at the UN, this video of a missile in an underground bunker, and that's pretty much been everything that Iran has said about a retaliation. They have said that we will retaliate at a time and a place of our choosing, but that's it. That is it. Most of the rhetoric about an attack on Israel has actually been coming from the Biden White House. ABC News reports U.S. officials say Iran has prepared over 100 cruise missiles for a possible strike on Israel. 100 cruise missiles. Now, I know this is a trap. You know this is a trap in order for the neocons to get a big war in the Middle East. The neocons have been wanting a war with Iran for God knows how many years, how many decades. And everyone knows this is a trap. So obviously Iran knows this is a trap. Why would Iran launch 100 cruise missiles in the way that the United States is saying they're going to launch these cruise missiles, in the time window that the U.S. is saying they're going to launch these cruise missiles, knowing that this is all a trap in order to get a wider war in the Middle East? Why would Iran fall for this trap? Doesn't make any sense. The whole thing feels manufactured. This whole Iran's going to attack Israel, this imminent attack on Israel, 100 cruise missiles, 100 Shahed drones, it all feels manufactured, like a setup. Why would Iran fall for this? I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe there's so much pressure from hardliners that Iran has to attack. I don't know. But it just doesn't seem like it would be very smart for Iran to actually attack Israel, to retaliate against Israel in the exact way and in the exact time frame that the Biden White House is laying out there. Marco Rubio, he's even quoting scripture. Little neocon Marco Rubio posted this on Twitter X. They shall be as nothing at all who do battle with you, for I am the Lord, your God, who grasps your right hand. It is I who say to you, do not fear, I will help you. Isaiah 12:13. When neocons are quoting scripture, that's how you know that they are ramped up, excited about getting this war with Iran. I mean, Rubio is quoting scripture. That's how excited the neocons are about the possibility, the prospects of finally getting a war with Iran. So we wait and see if Iran does indeed retaliate and if they fall into this trap that has been so obviously and conveniently laid out for them. So yesterday in my video update, I talked about the Russian ambassador to the United Nations, Nebenzia's statement to Collective West members at the UN Security Council, where he said that going forward, the only events discussing Ukraine will be about Ukraine's unconditional surrender. Well, I was watching Alexander's video update yesterday, and Alexander, he found a statement from Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov that he made yesterday, right around the same time as Nebenzia's warning to the Collective West members of the UN Security Council. Now, yesterday, Russian President Putin was meeting with the president of Belarus, Lukashenko, and Putin said that Russia remains ready for talks with regards to the conflict in Ukraine. Putin even hinted that these talks could be mediated by none other than his good friend sitting next to him, Lukashenko. And Nebenzia at the UN Security Council says that any talk about Ukraine going forward, any events discussing Ukraine, will be about Ukraine's unconditional surrender. And Dmitry Peskov, all of this taking place around the same time, Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, he said that Russia is ready for talks based on Istanbul-Plus, or at least that's how Alexander has coined the term, Istanbul-Plus. In other words, talks based on the talks that took place in Istanbul in 2022, right before Boris Johnson flew to Kiev and sabotaged the outcome, the agreement of those talks in Istanbul, of which Ukraine even initialed the framework of those talks in Istanbul, very close to a peace in Ukraine until Boris Johnson spoiled everything, sabotaged it all. Dmitry Peskov said, you know what? Russia is ready to start talks, but it has to be based on Istanbul plus a whole lot more concessions. A whole lot more concessions. This is from TASS News. The Istanbul Treaty, prepared in March 2022, can be the basis for talks on Ukraine. But a number of new realities have emerged in 2 years, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters. Quote, this return to negotiations is possible only in the form of dialogue. Readiness for dialogue. Our readiness for negotiations was confirmed yesterday by the president, Vladimir Putin. As a rule, negotiations are still based on something. It was said that, among other things, we could rely on the document, the Istanbul Treaty. But of course, a lot of changes have taken place since then. We have new subjects in the Constitution, which was not the case 2 years ago. Therefore, there are indeed a number of new realities that we cannot abstract from, but at the same time, this treaty could be a certain basis for the start of negotiations, the spokesman said. So Putin with Lukashenko says that Russia is absolutely ready to talk. Russia's always ready to talk. Maybe Lukashenko can mediate. Who knows? Nebenzia sends out the warning, unconditional surrender from Ukraine. And Peskov comes out with this statement, Istanbul-Plus. Istanbul-Plus a recognition of the new realities on the ground. And then we have the basis for talks. And what are those new realities? What are going to be Russia's new conditions? Well, Istanbul. So you use Istanbul, and then you layer on top of that the new realities, which are the new subjects, as Peskov said in a statement. 4 new regions, recognition of Crimea, 4 regions plus Crimea recognized as part of the Russian Federation. Of course, denazification. I imagine Russia has to be recognized as an official language. Security guarantees for Ukraine, of which Russia is one of the guarantors. That was also in the Istanbul Agreement. I believe that was in the first initial Istanbul Agreement. Very little to no military, a very small Ukraine military. That was part of the Istanbul Agreement. I would imagine Istanbul-Plus would have an even smaller footprint for Ukraine's military. And what else would be a part of Istanbul-Plus? I would imagine that Russia would demand that it has some sort of policing security force or something in place in Odessa and Kharkov regions. I would also imagine that Russia would require the Zelensky government to step down and a new government to be formed. I imagine that Russia would not allow any foreign military presence in Ukraine. I think that was actually in the original Istanbul. No foreign military presence unless it's agreed upon by all the guarantors, of which Russia would be one of the guarantors, and Russia would absolutely have a veto. So it would be something like that. This is the last chance that the collective West, the United States, the Zelensky regime, has to get to a negotiated settlement. This is the last chance. Otherwise, you're looking at Nebenzia's option, Nebenzia's statement, which is unconditional surrender, a military solution. Now, will the United States, the collective West, will they take Russia up on this Istanbul-Plus offer and tell Ukraine to negotiate? I doubt it. I absolutely doubt it. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I doubt it. I imagine they're going to ignore this, and they're going to tell Ukraine to fight on until the last Ukrainian. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe something happens and someone in the Biden White House decides that this conflict is not really working out in the United States' best interests. Doubted, but who knows? J.D. Vance, he wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, Senator J.D. Vance from Ohio, and he said that Ukraine cannot win this conflict. And the reason it cannot win this conflict, according to Senator Vance, since I mentioned maybe there's a voice of reason somewhere in the U.S. government, well, J.D. Vance said Ukraine cannot win this war in this op-ed because of basic math and not Annalena 360 math. No, not Annalena times, minus, square roots, 360 math. No, none of that. We're talking about real math, real mathematics, real numbers. Vance said it's not happening. It is not happening. Ukraine cannot win this conflict. That is what he wrote in this New York Times op-ed. The Biden administration has no viable plan for the Ukrainians to win this war. Ukraine's challenge is not the GOP, it's math, Vance wrote. Ukraine needs more soldiers than it can field, even with draconian conscription policies, and it needs more material than the United States can provide. And in this article, Vance even gets into the details of weapons production. And he admits in this article, Vance admits that the United States and Europe, even if they double their output, their production output of ammunition, they still can't even come close to what Ukraine needs and to what Russia is producing. He says it in the New York Times article. The US plus the EU, even if we double everything, we still can't match what the Russians are producing for this conflict. He said the math doesn't work out. Ukraine cannot win. Vance also took aim at the White House's messaging that funding Kiev is good for the U.S. military industry. It's a good investment. Vance touched upon this narrative as well. Quote, the notion that we should prolong a bloody and gruesome war because it's good for American business is grotesque. We can and should rebuild our industrial base without shipping its products to a foreign conflict, he wrote. Good on you, J.D. Vance. Good on you. Finally, someone in a position of power in the collective West has said that this narrative of a good investment that Lord Cameron was talking up when he was in the United States the other day is grotesque. It is grotesque. Not only is it grotesque, it's sinister because it's meant to keep Ukraine fighting. It's an argument to keep Ukraine fighting in a war that it cannot win. And it's a lie. It's also a lie. Even if you think of this conflict in terms of investment, let's say you're a psychopath. Let's say you're just psycho, sociopath, psychopath, whatever. Let's say you look at this conflict strictly in terms of numbers and as an investment. It's a terrible investment for the United States. The U.S. has lost its unipolar dominance. It's lost its unipolar power, its hegemonic power because of this conflict. This has been a catastrophe for the United States, an absolute freaking catastrophe. For what? For Ukraine? The U.S. destroyed its entire position in the world for Zelensky. So even if you're psycho and you're looking at this strictly in terms of an investment, and you have to be psycho to look at it in those terms, the only conclusion that you can come up with is that this has been an absolutely terrible, the worst freaking investment the U.S. could have ever made. Ever. Anyway, good on you, J.D. Vance. Good on you for touching this narrative, this subject about this is a good investment. So Trump was with Mike Johnson the other day, and they were speaking to the media, and he was asked about the $61 billion to Ukraine, and Trump said that he's against giving the $61 billion to Ukraine, but he's not against loaning the money to Ukraine. Because Zelensky, he pay back loan. I pay back loan. You give me money, I'm good for it. I pay back loan. So Trump said yesterday to the media, with Mike Johnson standing right next to him, they're looking at various options, but he said he's not against loaning the money to Zelensky. Now, obviously, Trump knows that loaning any money to Zelensky is the equivalent of giving it away because you're never going to get it back. But he did say that. Trump also said that that the EU is not doing their part. Europe is not doing their part, and he's tired of it. So he also said that. It's very interesting to see Trump is the man. He is the politician in the United States that controls whether Ukraine is going to get aid or not. It's not Biden, it's Trump. Even Lord Cameron, when he went to the US, who did he go to in order to try and get the $61 billion to Zelensky? He went to Trump. He went to Mar-a-Lago. Who's Mike Johnson consulting with? With Trump. So it's a very interesting dynamic that's playing out. Trump has positioned himself as the man who will decide how and if and in what form in what way the money is going to get sent to Ukraine, or if the money is going to get sent to Ukraine. Mike Johnson yesterday also, I believe that he pushed through the House the FISA renewal. Just on a side note, Section 702, this was passed yesterday, which allows the U.S. to spy on communication outside of the U.S. from U.S.-based websites being accessed from outside of the U.S. The U.S. can now spy on that communication and collect data and intel on that communication without a warrant. And this communication, it also catches American citizens. That's the interesting part about Section 702, that any American citizens caught up in the communication, well, they get spied on without a warrant as well. Carter Page, during the whole Trump-Russiagate, Carter Page, I believe, was a FISA warrant. He got caught up in the whole FISA system. So that was passed yesterday, from what I understand, thanks to Mike Johnson. The House voted 273 to 147 on Friday to find Section 702 of the 1978 Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, drafted in 2008. Section 702 legalized a formerly clandestine program, granting U.S. intelligence agencies the power to monitor internet and phone communications from abroad made through American networks like Google. Ostensibly designed to target foreigners, the program also indirectly collects data from millions of American citizens, which can be accessed without a court warrant. According to data released in 2022, the FBI used this program to probe the electronic data of nearly 3.4 million Americans in 2021. So Americans get caught up in FISA Section 702, and they get spied on without a warrant. Courtesy of Mike Johnson. I think the one caveat in what was passed yesterday is that instead of 5 years, instead of FISA having to come up for a vote, a renewal every 5 years, it's now going to be every 2 years. So I think that was the only concession that was made. But the Uniparty, they wanted FISA 702 passed, and what the Uniparty wants, the Uniparty gets. And that is why I believe ultimately Johnson will hand over money to Ukraine. And Trump basically signaled yesterday that he's okay if this money falls under the guise of a loan, if it's worded in such a way that they say this is a loan, which is ridiculous. Who would loan Zelensky money? Would you loan Zelensky money? I wouldn't loan Zelensky money. Would you? Of course not. But that's how they're going to frame it. That's how they're going to word it. And it looks like, I mean, Trump could change his mind, but it looks like Trump has given his tacit approval of phrasing this in terms of a loan. So I imagine Mike Johnson has the opening to get money to Project Ukraine. Not that the money is going to make a difference in the conflict. What the money is going to do is that it's going to pay off a lot of people. And I've been saying this for a while now. We've been saying this at the Duran for a while now. The Biden White House, they made a lot of promises to a lot of companies, to a lot of oligarchs, to a lot of powerful people and powerful entities that they're going to have Ukraine. They're going to take over Ukraine and do business in Ukraine. They're also going to take over Russia, a balkanized, broken up Russia, and they're going to get access to all of Russia's wealth and all of Russia's riches. And Biden promised all of this. And BlackRock and Monsanto and the MIC, the Raytheon and you see that pigeon is courting the other pigeon, right? Flirting. He's flirting. Yeah, Raytheon and Boeing and all of these companies, all these entities, and I'm sure a lot of wealthy oligarchs, wealthy individuals, wealthy campaign donors, they were all promised a whole lot of riches, a whole lot of stuff. And they're not going to get it. So they're going to want something. 61 billion is going to be divvied up to them. And maybe even the 300 billion in frozen assets, that's going to have to get divvied up to all of these entities and people and companies as well. That's what this money is for. That is exactly what this money is for. Anyway, that brings us to Pirate Scholz, my favorite. Pirate Scholz. Arg. I'm Pirate Scholz, Chancellor of Germany. Arg. So Pirate Scholz, he gave an interview to German media the other day, and Scholz said that Germany is going to support Ukraine long term, and that Russia turned off the gas to Germany. It wasn't Germany that blocked the gas from Russia. It is Russia that turned off the gas. It wasn't Germany that allowed Nord Stream to be blown up. It was Russia. It was Russia that prevented gas from entering Germany. He's told this lie before, but he's saying it again. We will continue to supply weapons for a long time, Scholz said. He also said that he would talk to Putin only when Russia withdraws its troops from Ukraine. I guess that means that Scholz will never talk to Putin ever again. He's only going to talk to Putin when Russia withdraws its troops from Ukraine. It looks like Putin is never going to speak to Scholz ever again. I imagine that Putin is very upset about that. Oh boy, let's see here. Speaking with Die Tageszeitung, Scholz defended his government's policy of unequivocal support for Ukraine. It's about defending Europe's peace order. Russia is waging an imperialist war and must not win, he told the outlet. Second, Russia stopped its gas deliveries, not us. Scholz, gaslighting. Gaslighting, telling some very big lies there, huh? Pirate Scholz? Gaslighting. Or maybe we can say that Scholz is pirate lighting. Instead of gaslighting, he's pirate lighting. Arg, it was Russia, arg, that stopped the gas flowing to Germany, matey. Oh, boy. Scholz then said in this interview that the Germans should be thanking him. The Germans should be thanking him because it was his bold and decisive moves that created a new economic model for Germany, an economic model that is not dependent on cheap, reliable, dependable, accessible, close by Russian energy, Russian gas. And now the new economic model that's going to drive German growth going forward in the next decades to come is going to be green stuff, pharma stuff, and weapons. Germany's going to make lots of weapons. They're going to need some cheap energy to make those weapons. And as far as the pharmaceutical industry, well, I imagine they also need cheap energy as well. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe solar or windmills or something like that can power up the big factories that are going to crank out the Leopard tanks. Scholz also brushed off the Germans' concerns about the economy and inflation by saying that green energy and the pharmaceutical industry will soon turn things around. On the same day his interview was published, Germany's largest steelmaker ThyssenKrupp announced a substantial reduction in production at its Duisburg facility, laying off 13,000 employees. The company blamed high energy costs and tight emission reduction regulations, as well as increased pressure from Asian imports. Now, why are Asian imports pressuring German business? Is it because Asia is getting the energy cheap and they're able to offer cheaper prices, and Germany is paying a whole lot for the energy and their costs are going up and they're losing out in the market? I don't know, but on the same day that Scholz said that all is well and that Germany should be thanking him for his bold moves to a green energy Germany, a pharma, weapons, production colossus, economic colossus Germany, you had 13,000 layoffs because of energy costs. But blame Russia. Blame Russia. They're the ones to blame. Germany wanted the gas. They wanted the gas, but Russia said, nope, nope, we're not going to give you the gas, according to Scholz. Nope. No chance. No chance. Now, Germany, from what I understand, can turn on Nord Stream 2. I do believe that they can still turn on Nord Stream 2, but for some strange reason, Germany doesn't want to turn it on. I don't know why. I can't figure it out. I don't think Scholz was asked that question. How come you don't turn on Nord Stream 2? He wasn't asked that by this German publication. The delusional pirate Scholz with his 20%, 25% approval rating. Pirate Scholz, arg, arg. Russia doesn't give us gas, arg. Pirate Scholz. All right, let's do a clown world and we can wrap this video up. So yesterday in Congress, or a couple of days ago in Congress, the Japanese Prime Minister, Kishida, gave a very interesting speech. He talked about the danger of Russia repeating a nuclear weapons catastrophe. And he said this to the US Congress. Unbelievable statement from Kishida. I mean, a shocking, unbelievable statement from Kishida. Wow. He is 100% owned by the United States, Kishida. Wow. Wow, what a statement. Let me play it for you.
Ukraine of today may be East Asia of tomorrow. Furthermore, Russia continues to threaten the use of nuclear weapons, which has contributed to worldwide concern that yet another catastrophe by nuclear weapon use is a real possibility. In this reality,
so that's the Prime Minister of Japan. Incredible stuff. Let's see here from Lord Bibo. Ukrainian embassy in Montenegro did not like the logo of the channel TVCG2 due to its resemblance of Z, of the letter Z. Diplomats said the design of the number 2 was too reminiscent of the letter Z and sent a complaint to the management of radio and television of Montenegro. Time to cancel that logo. Alensky is demanding it. Alensky demands it. I don't have Z in my name. Why should this TV company have Z in logo? This is not right. This is not fair. They must change logo. If I'm Alensky, then this channel too need new logo. Look like a Z to me. Oh boy, so that's coming out of Montenegro. From Lithuania, their foreign ministry has asked citizens not to vacation at the same resorts with Russians. Foreign Ministry Chancellor Inga Chernyuk asked Lithuanians to choose European destinations for travel rather than countries with other values, those values, such as Egypt, Turkey, Thailand, Moldova, Armenia, and Georgia. Otherwise, there is a high probability of conflict with SMO supporters, the official explained. Those EU values. Do not travel to countries that do not share our EU values. She's trying to order people to not travel to certain places. She's trying to dictate where people travel. Nice values there. Really nice values. Oh boy. The Baltic nations, they've really lost it, haven't they? Estonia wants to designate the Russian Orthodox Church as a terrorist organization. This is coming, I believe, from the Interior Minister. Be very, very careful, Estonia, of what you're doing. Be very, very careful. Keep in mind also, Estonia, keep in mind, this Interior Minister, I believe it is an Interior Minister of Estonia, keep in mind that that as you call to designate the Russian Orthodox Church as a terrorist organization, Russia is conducting a terrorist investigation, and they still haven't wrapped up that terrorist investigation. So do not make any stupid moves, politicians in Estonia. Not the people of Estonia. The politicians in Estonia are losing their minds. Absolutely losing their minds. That's the way it looks from here. Let's see, the Telegraph. They have an article with the title, Royal Navy recruits no longer needed to prove that they can swim. Anyone seeking to join the senior service won't have to pass a 30-minute swim test prior to signing up. I don't know if these stories are real or fake anymore. I don't know. Maybe the Telegraph is just taking a piss. I don't know. I have no idea anymore. But whatever. It's okay. It sounds about right. It sounds about right. Yeah. Okay. UK, and you want to follow France into Ukraine. Granted that Ukraine is a ground war, mostly a ground war. But I have heard the UK say that if they do follow France into Ukraine, they are going to send ships into the Black Sea, or at least they're going to try to send ships into the Black Sea. That's not going to work out too well for the UK Navy, but yeah. All right, anyway, that is the video, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X, and go to the Duran shop. Limited edition merch can be found. The link is in the description box down below. And subscribe to this channel on YouTube. Subscribe to this channel on Rumble. And that's it for today. Take care.